Web of Shadows is another open-world Spider-Man game made by Activision. It's set in an open-world New York City, but it has not of the same problems open-world games have with repetitive mission structures, button mashing, and you're constantly traveling across a large city, so it's just a lot of traveling back and forth, which gets old. It is a Spider-Man, and he does, of course, swing through the air, doing whatever a spider can, which is a lot more fun than just driving cars around in other typical open-world games. So that's enjoyable, crawling on walls, using his powers. The perspective changes in the buildings and looking at the skyscrapers as you're fighting can be fun, but it also can be distracting when the camera gets in the way. But it captures his powers really well. His powers, again, as you gain experience in the game, the red and the black suit, you have ground combos, air, on the wall, web strike, other different powers that you'll constantly be upgrading. There's a lot of different spider symbols to pick up, which can be annoying in a lot of open world games, but it's a little less annoying in the game because they're just out in the open, which makes you just want to go and grab them all to get faster and have more health. The red suit Spider-Man has lower damage, but has a lot higher hit combos, so it's flashier and a lot of fun to watch. He also, you get different kinds of powers here. You're grinding on enemies, doing skateboarding on them, a lot of stylish different kinds of combos, so it's a lot of fun to play and watch. But it gets old after a while because it's just the same thing over and over again. The black suit does a lot more damage with the tendrils and the extra power the alien gives him. It's a much different looking style, but in the end, it's just button mashing, hitting two different buttons over and over again. Spider-Man has a lot of different combos now on the wall, so the wall crawling combat's used a lot more, which can be cool and it looks neat, but it can be distracting as well because you're looking up, you're looking down to the side very quickly. Perspective changes. And in the black suit, you can pick up cars and throw them at enemies, which causes a lot of damage. Web strike here is the coolest new attack you have. You can shoot out a web from a long distance, then zoom in and attack the enemy, and then you get different combos later in the game to finish them off after doing a web strike. And the coolest thing about the web strike, in my opinion, is aerial combat. It's actually possible now. You can hit an enemy in the air and then zoom in and shoot the webs out at another enemy and constantly go higher in the air and do more damage. It makes it fun, it's easy to follow, it actually works. And you can actually swing into enemies, 6 or 7 if you see them clumped together, just treat them like bowling pins and knock them over. It's pretty cool to see all the enemies flying around. And later in the game you'll have heroes, your Wolverine, or villains, depending on if you've been a good or bad Spider-Man, that'll aid you when you're in a tight spot and you need some extra firepower for the fight. Some of the objectives you'll have are to save people, the civilians, and take them here to this safe beacon away from the villains. Other times you'll be saving civilians from an onslaught of enemies that just keep coming and coming, so you just have to beat them up. In this one, you're escorting an armored personnel carrier to go and save yet some more civilians that are distressed. But they look slightly different, but you're just button mashing. You're hitting 2 buttons over and over again, so that does get quite repetitive. And in this objective here, you've got sometimes where you have to manipulate the environment, for instance, pulling this antenna out to disable a security system. Slightly different, but it, in the end, is a bunch of button mashing, 2 buttons over and over. Spider-Man Web of Shadows is a fun game initially with using Spider-Man's powers, but it gets old, as most open-world games do, with tons of traveling across a large city and repetitive button mashing over and over again. Hopefully Activision will learn and use Spider-Man to make better games in the future.